The man bathed his paralyzed wife every day, but one day, just as he finished filling the tub with water, he slipped and hit his head hard on the sink, losing consciousness. The wife was at a loss, as the faucet was still running. Her husband, who had fainted, hadn't woken up yet. If this continued, she would soon drown in the bathtub. Because of her paralysis, Emily could only watch helplessly as the faucet filled the tub, the water about to reach her nose. To survive, Emily desperately tried to move her barely perceptible right foot to open the drain at the bottom. But her right leg had very little strength. After several attempts, she not only failed to open the valve, but also accidentally broke the chain connecting it. This plunged Emily into despair. Even more terrifying, the faucet continued to fill the bathtub with water. She frantically tried to think of a way to escape, just as the water was about to submerge her mouth and nose. In that critical moment, Emily quickly moved her conscious fingers. After persistent efforts, Emily finally reached the showerhead. She wanted to use it to turn off the faucet. Seeing that the water was about to suffocate her, Emily suddenly exerted force and managed to turn off the faucet halfway. Although the water flow slowed down, the faucet was still running. At this point, Emily was still in critical condition. Seeing that her last breath of oxygen was about to run out, she quickly relaxed her body and then relied on natural buoyancy to raise her right foot to the surface. Then, with a sudden burst of strength, she finally moved the drain valve at the bottom. Then, the water level dropped rapidly, and Emily's head finally emerged. Thanks to her tenacious will to survive, Emily managed to pull herself back from the brink of death. However, to her utter surprise, after this incident, her body miraculously regained sensation. Paralyzed for 30 years, she never imagined that an accident would lead to her recovery. Before she could even feel excited, she grabbed the edge of the bathtub to check on her husband's injuries. But to her dismay, her husband's body had vanished without a trace. This terrified Emily. Seeing the bloodstains her husband had left behind, she panicked even more. If her husband wasn't married, why hadn't he done anything to her in the bathtub? She quickly climbed out of the tub and immediately tried to call the police. But before the call even connected, she was horrified to see a figure pacing back and forth outside the door. Emily immediately hung up the phone. Suspecting a possible home invasion robbery, she held her breath, afraid to make a sound lest the intruder discover her location. She then grabbed a shard of glass and cautiously went to the door to see who was outside. Thank goodness it was just a false alarm. All she had seen was the curtains moving in the wind. Just as Emily was about to breathe a sigh of relief, she heard a strange noise downstairs. Seeing this, she quickly gripped the shard of glass for self-defense and cautiously went downstairs to investigate. Seeing her husband lying on the floor, Emily was instantly terrified. She had no idea what had happened, and her husband had clearly fainted in the bathroom. How could he now be in the living room? Emily racked her brains and could only think of one possibility. Her husband wanted to murder her, and that his fainting was faked so he could avoid police suspicion. She remembered her best friend saying her husband might be having an affair, and she hadn't believed her at the time. Now, this was happening. She couldn't believe her husband wanted to murder her and elope with his lover, to escape as quickly as possible. She tiptoed out, but just then, she suddenly saw the phone pinned under her husband. Seeing that she was almost discovered by her husband, Emily hurriedly picked up the car keys on the ground and ran outside without looking back. In order to escape her husband's pursuit, she wanted to start the car and leave as soon as possible. However, she didn't expect that just as she was about to insert the key, she realized that she had picked up the key to another car. Looking at the Piccoli behind her, she realized that she hadn't passed by. Emily quickly got out of the car and ran over. Without a word, she started the car and sped away, fearing her husband would kill her if he chased after her. After running some distance, she realized her husband couldn't catch her now, so Emily quickly took out her phone to call the police. But before the call connected, she was horrified to discover that the canvas behind the car seemed to have been tampered with. Before Emily could react, her husband suddenly appeared behind her. In a panic, Emily had no choice but to floor the accelerator and desperately try to break free from her husband's grasp. But driving like this was too dangerous, and soon the pickup truck plunged headfirst into a lake. Fortunately, Emily was not in mortal danger, but her husband accidentally got his foot stuck between the seats. Seeing that the car door could not be opened, Emily tried to roll down the window, but unexpectedly, this immediately caused people to rush into the car. Looking at the broken glass in the back, Emily tried to get out, but her husband grabbed her tightly from behind. It was clear that he wanted to die with her. As the car continued to sink and the car was about to fill with water, unexpectedly, at the last moment, her husband had a change of heart. Perhaps realizing that he was about to die, he pushed Emily out. Soon, Emily floated to the surface. She finally survived, but her husband remained at the bottom of the lake forever. The film ends here.